Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Speak Your Mind show. I'm going to be your host tonight, Richard DeCastro, and my co-host Julio is not here with me tonight. But we're going to touch on some issues. We're going to look at the sister island issues. We're going to talk a bit about recycling, waste management, and election reform. We're going to talk a little bit about election reform. And we're going to also engage the community. We're going to ask our viewing audience out there to tune in, to become more active, become a little bit more vocal, and, speak your mind. Tell the community what you're thinking about and what's important to you at this time in our history, October 2014 and counting. We need to have this dialogue with the community on a regular basis. And like I said, we're going to talk about the sister island issues. There are many issues concerning the sister islands. We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk about recycling. I put next to that waste management, how we're managing our waste. And we're going to talk about election reform. We know that there's a possibility of election coming up pretty soon. The preliminary voters list is out. If you're a voter, you might want to go and look for one of those lists and see if your name is on it in the right district, and if your name is spelled properly, or if your address is incorrect, etc., etc. You might want to pay attention to what's going on. The elections office is working hard, and I'm going to talk about some other things that I think are pertinent to election. Of course, you can reach us on www.jetvlive.net. So if you have a friend who doesn't have cable, you can remind them that they can get on the internet and they can look at a show live if they go to www.jetvlive.net. And of course, like I said, we're going to try and deal with these three topics. And also other topical issues in the news we're going to try and deal with as well. One of those being, of course, the minimum wage. We've just noticed that a couple of countries have increased their minimum wages, and that's a good thing, because the fight for the minimum wage is not for the regular person; it's for the persons who are being affected by employers who use that as a measure for the employees. Now, we are aware that there are a lot of employees who pay above the minimum wage, but there are still some people who use that against our people and pay that minimum wage, and it's $4 per hour. And just to equate what I'm talking about, I'll tell you, $4 per hour. If you work an 8-hour shift, 4 8s, that's 32. So if you can't understand what $4 an hour is like, it's working for $32 a day. And with the cost of living in the territory so high, we know $32 can't do much. It can't pay the bills. It can't take care of the children. It can't put food on the table. You have to work many hours if you're going to maintain a comfortable lifestyle. And when I say comfortable lifestyle, I'm not going into the extraordinary. I'm just talking about the very ordinary, basic things. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Speak Your Mind show is here, is live, and it is the People's Show. So, of course, if you call with a pressing issue, or if you want to to start the dialogue in another direction, just call it an open show. And we're going to be here with you for the duration of the show, and we're going to dialogue as much with the people of the Virgin Islands. We're going to, speak to you on a one-on-one basis. We're going to listen to your opinions, and we're going to comment on them if necessary. And we're also going to, shed light in areas where we feel light needs to be shed. Waste management. Waste management is something that I think we have to rethink the whole idea about waste management. Not too long ago, but I guess a few years ago, we had a bottling company here, and they used to make sodas. And one of the things that some of us learned from the bottling company was you never throw away the bottles. You always save the bottles because you had to return the bottles. We have gone so far away from that philosophy that we throw away everything. Everything that we buy now ends up in the garbage. So we need to change our philosophy. And I think one of the ways to change our philosophy is for the implementation of a levy on the bottles and plastic that come into the territory. And that way, when you return those things, you'll get your money back. I think that's one of the quickest, fastest ways to deal with the garbage disposal problem we are having right now. We have a litter fine of, I think it's $5,000 or $100. I don't remember how much it is, but we have litter fines. But if you check to see how many people over the years have actually been fined for littering, you'd find that the numbers are very small. Yet I can take you to certain areas of anywhere from Anegada to Josh Van Dyke, and we can spend an hour or less and collect any amount of garbage that you want to collect. And I know there are some organizations out there who are trying this successfully, by the way. They're not trying it, they're doing it successfully. But the reason why they're able to do it successfully is because there's an abundance and a renewed effort to throw away in the bushes, along the roadside, etc. There's this effort to do that. And once there's this effort to do that, there will always be a lot of garbage. I admire countries. I can call a couple of them. I admire Canada. It's clean, very clean, and people take it personally. Canadians take cleanliness of the roadside, of the yard, etc. personal. Trinidad and Tobago, the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. People pick up after people drop stuff. I've seen it more than one time. And that is because of the same change in philosophy that I'm alluring to. If you have a philosophy or a policy where persons are rewarded they get their levy back when they recover waste. And when we say waste, ladies and gentlemen, I'm referring to the plastic bottles, the beer bottles, the soda bottles, the cans, etc. After it's used, these are containers that transport the product to us. Once it's used, the container is no longer usable. It's considered garbage. And we're going to get to the next step after that, which is recycling. And if we're able to accumulate enough of that material. Right now, there are some metals, aluminum, copper, gold. They're on the rise. They're not going down. They're becoming more and more valuable every day. And we need to start looking at the value of those metals and making a serious decision as to why would we want to throw away such valuable things. And we are doing it right now. We are discarding very valuable things. I have a call. Yeah, good evening. You're speaking mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good night.
Good night. You have to turn down. Please turn down your television set, please.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
I just got just to the net and we somebody to call you after that. They just got to say good night to the new way. Okay.
Okay, that's very good of you. I thank you.
I tune in. Okay.
Okay.
I tune in.
That's good. That's good, my brother. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes people meet me and they say that they watch the show and whatnot, and I appreciate all the comments that I get from persons that, you know, encourage the motto and the whole, you know, the meaning of the show. Speak your mind, you know, express yourself, be vocal, you know, think your thoughts through and put them together. And like I said, this show is the people's show. This show belongs to everyone in the Virgin Islands, and we have to dialogue from time to time and make these Virgin Islands more livable, more governable. Government, of course, as I always say, is to govern the people. And we who are here right now, we are the people. Those who have gone before us, they're already gone, and those who are coming, you know, they're coming, and we have to prepare a better place for them when they begin to, you know, to express themselves and take over their rightful positions in the society. So we have a tremendous job. We have to, you know, we have to make it a better place for the citizens who are coming, and be mindful that the shoulders that we stood on to get here where we are today. Always remember that that's the way it is. We didn't get here. We didn't come here by flight. We came here by standing on the shoulders of some other people. Good evening, you're speaking mind. Go ahead, please.
I'm very much talking. Good evening, yeah, good night.
Good night.
Watch out. You may turn on the TV a little bit. Listen to this. People were clean, got them and so, right? Listen to what I'm saying? People were clean, got them and so. I personally see them clean the gut and put the garbage and say, why? That shouldn't. Money. Listen, let me finish, sir.
Go ahead.
When I finish, you could talk.
Okay.
Okay, the people were clean, got them and so, right? Why they put the garbage and they say they're supposed to put them in a truck and carry them back and spray whatever, right? Right?
Yes.
Why are they doing that?
Well,
why it is right? If the inspectors drive around, right? And these people find that getting paid to do the job. Not to be picking the garbage out the gut and putting it back. Put it in a silent car. When it rains, it goes back in it. Still going back in the gut.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
But Carla, you touch on an area where I used to be in charge of many years ago.
Huh?
You touch on an area where I used to be in charge of many years ago. You want me to explain to you how I think it should be done?
I'm listening to you.
Okay. What was done back then and what should still be done is there should be someone that goes out with a person who's going to clean the gut and explain to them what the job entails and how much they're going to get for doing the job. After that, they should, you know, make some kind of agreement with them, whether a purchase order or a contract, and they should inspect the drain before the person clean it, and then inspect the drain after the person clean it, and then agree to pay the person based on the performance that the person did. How that sound?
Sound good.
Okay.
Sound good, but what I'm saying, I see these things. People cleaning the gut and putting the garbage on the side. Because when it rain again, the same garbage going in the gut.
Carla, I agree.
Don't have nobody to inspect the job after the.
Carla, I'm agreeing with you, you know, and I'm also saying that that person gets paid. The only way to stop that, is if the person who is authorizing the payment goes out and check the job to ensure that the job was actually done before they pay the person. That's what I'm saying. You agree with me?
I understand you.
Mm-hmm.
But just you know, like, okay, everyone sit down, right?
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And just say the politician are we dealing with now. We dealing with politician, right?
Okay.
Let's say a politician do something wrong in the Senate, right?
Mm-hmm.
They take him and they lock him up in jail, right? How come you don't lock up? You in jail up here?
But that's a good question, and
How come you don't lock up? You here with thief in the government money? With thief in the government money, right?
That's a good question.
How come you don't lock them up?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the situation in St. Thomas as it is right now.
No, you part of the politician. You part of politician, so you look up for your pocket, and you know what I mean. That's what I always see about it. The thing is that it speak your mind, right?
Yeah, but I was going to say to you that I think in St. Thomas, where you get that teeth that you don't have here is that federal government. When you break the federal government law, they don't care if you're from St. Thomas. You following me?
I feel you.
Yeah.
I listen to you.
And we don't have no federal government here. Okay? We only have a local government, and we have a UK representative who basically...
The local government need to look into it.
Of course.
If I do a crime, right? They're going to lock me up, right?
Definitely.
So they're supposed to lock them up. They're supposed to lock them up too. Because they take government money, right?
Yeah.
I know you ain't blind. You ain't blind. Maybe because you have shades on your glasses on your eye. I know you ain't blind.
Okay.
You can see what's going on. But if you part of them, right? It will be like that day. So to me, right, it's a waste of time talking but speak your mind. Because the same thing will go on every day. You heard? But anyhow, have a good night. I'm still listening to you, okay?
All right, thanks, guy.
Peace and love.
All right, same to you. But I'm going to still encourage you to speak your mind, though, because the one thing that we're still allowed to do is we're still allowed to speak. In some countries, you're not even allowed to speak. You have to be careful. You know what you say. You can get locked up just for speaking. So once we can speak, we're going to continue to speak, and we're going to continue to dialogue, because you raised some very important points. The whole point about the different types of crime. You didn't say so, but I read into what you're saying, that there's white-collar crime, there's blue-collar crime, there's misdemeanor, there's a lot of different types of different categories of crime. And in some instances, if you look at the record over time, one might think that only one type of criminal gets prosecuted in this country. And that is wrong, because we have a lot of different types of crime, and of course, justice is supposed to be blind. And when I say blind, I don't mean blind as blind can't see, but I mean justice is supposed to be something that represents all assets of society, not just one particular asset of society. And while we're on that topic, the whole marijuana issue is alive in the Virgin Islands, and Senator Nelson he brought it up in St. Thomas, and I'm not sure if he got it as far as the debate, but it's a issue. We're seeing what happened in Colorado. We're seeing that other Caribbean countries are thinking about the possibilities of changing the laws for marijuana, and I think maybe at some point we might even consider that here in the Virgin Islands. Well, if we talk enough about it, maybe there might be some interest in changing the way the laws are. I'm specifically referring to the fact that if a young person gets caught with a joint, they go to jail. That part I'm talking about, the minimum amount that you're allowed to have. That's what I'm talking about. And then of course there's the medical marijuana side, and the whole the whole enterprise side of marijuana, which has to do with making money, which, as we know, Colorado is making a ton of money for the government because they have decriminalized marijuana. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue. We start out with the Sister Island issues. We want to hear from you. We know there are many Sister Island issues, so we want to hear from you. The recycling waste management issue, and I said I was going to also touch on the elections reform. And when I say elections reform, let me just elaborate a little bit on that. I'm still of the opinion. I'm trying to follow in the footsteps of a great leader, and that great leader being Nelson Mandela, who was the person that was locked up in South Africa for many years before being released. And upon his release, he started seeking political office. And one of the things that he did that was very instrumental and a turning point for South Africa was he introduced the ballot with your picture, just as you see my face on the screen. Everyone that was running for election, they had their face on the ballot. This is 2014, and here in the Virgin Islands, we have not moved at all in terms of election reform to reflect anything like what I'm talking about. We still go around with a symbol and making an X next to a symbol and a name. With color copying, most offices in the territory fully equipped with electronic equipment. We consider ourselves a first world country, persons publishing books, etc., etc., etc. Ladies and gentlemen, if we are so advanced technologically as we claim to be, it is time that we stop doing what we're doing and look on the bright side and look on the positive side. You have reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
You're not coming on tonight?
Sorry?
You're not coming on the show tonight?
I am on the show.
Oh, okay. I want to be there. I don't know what's going on. Remember, me tell you want to warm up the show tonight, you know, boss.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's a live show. You know, it's not pre-recorded. This is a live show, and it's here for you. It's for the people of the Virgin Islands to express themselves, and speak your mind on a number of issues that affect all of us in the Virgin Islands. This is one community, and when I say one community, I mean from Anegada to Joshua Dyke. We should, in all of our endeavors, try to treat the persons in the territory with respect and dignity, from Anegada to Joshua Dyke. I got a call that came in. Yeah. Good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, you're live. Go right ahead.
Okay, Carl, look again.
This is
You got people for the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people, I feel the people that might listen to the show, they're free to call you and speak their mind.
Why?
That's why. Why?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I started to talk with them then.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I like this show. The shows are very, very strict as we live in the Virgin Islands, they're supposed to know what's going on along the Virgin Islands. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
But like the people look at the free to call and speak their mind. I need people calling. Because me and nobody talk about my department here.
Which is
When I
that?
go ahead and talk about my department, then I go straighten them up. Right?
Which department is your department?
Nothing with this department. Just hold it up.
Okay, buddy.
Hold up, fuck down, man. Fuck down.
All right, buddy. Yeah, but like I was saying, any issue that you want to raise with us, just go ahead and raise the issue. Okay. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we're going to have to take a break for the sponsors that make this show possible, and we'll be right back with you.
Police have gone right at last left turn.
Virgin,
Directions I got to go straight.
Oh, you go and tell me about them stupid directions when the map is right here.
Let me see the map. Let me see the map.
So now you want the map.
Give me the map, man.
Alright.
No, we passed here already. Oh.
Make a right, go 100 meters, and that's the destination.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from getting lost. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Many people don't even know that they have cabin filters in their vehicles, and most others aren't aware of the health benefits of maintaining your vehicle's cabin filter. Dirty or clogged cabin filter can cause musty odors in your vehicle and cause contaminants to become more concentrated in the cabin that passengers actually breathe more fumes and particles. The cabin filter helps trap pollen, bacteria, dust, and exhaust gas that may find their way into your vehicle's air conditioning, heating, and ventilation system. The filter also prevents leaves, bugs, and other debris from entering the HVAC system. Change your cabin filter. It's a simple preventive maintenance step that goes a long way forward to protecting you and your passengers, as well as your vehicle heating, ventilating, and air conditioning HVAC system. Breathe easy, Virgin Islands, and get your cabin filter replaced today. Visit One Stop Auto at the R&R Balloon Complex at Parkwood Pond, or call us at 495-2886.
Cheers to a month of mouth-watering events. Join us this November for a series of exciting culinary experiences such as the Barefoot Gourmet Soiree, with proceeds donated towards hospitality scholarships for local students. Or experience an evening with our participating hotels, hosting visiting chefs from around the globe. Join our Restaurant Week cook-offs and sample special discounted menu items. Every Friday of the month, our chefs prepare savory local dishes. Head to Virgin Gorda for the first ever On the Rocks bar crawl. This food-filled month climaxes on the Drowned Island at the 2nd Annual Anegada Lobster Festival. Visit www.bbifoodfest.com or call the BVI Tourist Board at 284-494-3134 for more details.
Tangerine from the Caribbean, passion fruit and iced tea.
Tubo Plus, the refreshing family drink with a revved up fruit flavor.
New flavors now available: mango, pineapple ginger, and soursop. Turbo Plus is distributed in the Virgin Islands by Total General Services.
What kind of party this?
Then they bring the music.
Seriously?
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from party disasters. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back after a brief break there for the sponsors. You're live with this Peak Your Mind show, and we had a text that just came in while we were going on a break, and it basically asks, begs the question: if a child, a young child, came into the territory and they were seeking naturalization, and they would have to have a police record. And I think that there's a standard procedure for applying for the naturalization, and it probably requires you to have a police record. But a 2-year-old wouldn't have any. I mean, I don't think they would ever have a police record, but at this, you have to hope that the people who are, in this type of position that they use their discretion or they find ways to deal with issues like that rather than being, sort of evasive or being blunt, knowing fully well that a 2-year-old would not have a valid police record. Although you probably could get a police record for a 2-year-old. So I think that we're really hoping that frontline people, and I like to call people who deal with passport, immigration, customs, port authority, I like to call all those people frontline people, because these are people who enforce the policies of the country to ensure that we have a good country. I'm going to come back to that. Good evening, you're speaking mind. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good evening. Good evening, Mr. Castro. I'm calling about an issue that's been vexing me now for the last few months. Specifically, it's the way these utility companies dig up our roads, burying utilities and digging trenches. A few months ago, Lime dug up a trench from Soldier Hill all the way to Mayors, all the way to Chalwell. They haven't even repaired the road properly. It's in a very ragged condition still. The trench is not topped off with concrete in some areas. So every time it rains, it's washing silt and dirt down the road. Some areas have been filled partially with concrete as if they're coming back to fill it with asphalt. And they left it like that, and the next thing I know, I'm seeing them walking down in Sikau Bay in the Pleasant Valley, Naniki area. As if they had no intention of coming back to fully repair the road. And it's a very, very, very vexing situation to have to drive the road every day. And now yesterday I see them spraying up the road going from Chalwell to Sikau Bay as if they're going to dig up the road again when they don't dig it up recently to bury cables already. So somebody in our Ministry of Communication and Works needs to clamp down on not only Lime but all these utility companies to prevent them from doing this to our roads continuously without any kind of consequence.
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue, because I wanted to speak a little bit about that same issue, but in a different light. But I'm going to address what you said first. What I know so far is that there's a new line supposed to come into the territory through Bruce Bay and come all the way to Chalwell and then go all the way down to Palestina. And I don't know, but for some reason, it hasn't been advertised what is being done. I mean, we haven't heard any public relations message about it from the company, and I think that is not in good cooperative style, because I think usually when you have a major project like that, and it's supposed to give us such a better advantage, I understand. But the selling point about it would be to explain to the motoring public what you're doing, what is costing, and the difficulty or how inconvenient it would have people for a while. All of this is good public relations, and we haven't heard anything like that from the company. So I agree with you, and I'm also affected by it because I pass in those same areas you pass as well. And I think it would be good public relations if they would come forward and put out the information and say what they're doing, say the benefits that we the citizens are going to derive from it, one, and two, explain the plans that they have, when they're going to dig up the road, when they're going to reinstate the road, and how they're going to reinstate the road, etc. But we're not hearing, and it leaves you and I to make our own assumptions. You agree?
Especially when they leave the road in the state of disrepair for weeks and months on end.
That's true.
I totally agree with you that the public relations side of it is lacking.
Yeah.
I'm all for the advancement of technology, so I welcome any advancement that they're planning to do with the technology as far as our telecommunications. But the project is sorely lacking from their standpoint in as far as it relates to how it's being implemented. You have your contractors working in one area, then the next day they jump to the next area, and one area isn't completed, and then you have roads all over the territory just completely affected in a negative way. It doesn't do anything good for any of us, regardless of what advancements you're planning to bring. It's hurting us in the meantime, and we don't have any answers as to how long we have to suffer. And these advancements, we don't even know when they're going to come online. It may be something they could bring online 10 years from now. Meanwhile, we are suffering for years and weeks with our vehicles taking a pounding every day. So they need to do something, and if it's a law that needs to be enforced where communication and work has to, come down on them for keeping the roads in these ways, something needs to be done because we're suffering.
And Carla, I'm gonna raise two other issues now that we covered those bases, and one of them is the idea that they have various persons working on that particular project that you are talking about. But I think that at some point we should have a national database where this information is stored, and it should, various persons should have access to that database. I'm gonna explain to you. Probably fire, probably public works, probably town and country planning, and a couple of other people that I don't think of right away. Because later on, when we want to dig up the road again, there should be some place lodged where we can go and find that information and know what depth those pipes were buried at and exactly where they are. We have persons here, we have surveyors here who have total stations and theodolites that can map within less than a centimeter how far to the left or how far to the right, and whether 4 feet or 5 feet under the ground these services are being placed. So there's no excuse. We need to have a national database where this information is lodged, and you should, other persons other than the company should be able to have access to that information so that you can plan around where those services are located. And the other point I wanted to raise is I think that we went through some liberalization. We didn't get full liberalization of the telecommunication industry, but there's one issue that bugs me up to today, and that is that particular company is allowed to put lines in the road and no charge. Government charges zero, no cents, while the other two companies does not have that advantage. I don't understand. I don't know if you understand where I'm coming from with this, but when you have a open market, you have to look at the advantages of each company. You following me?
Yeah, follow.
Yeah.
And I totally agree as far as mapping the information so we all have knowledge of what's buried where, and we could make plans, and whenever we have to make any adjustments, we don't have to necessarily dig up the road to find what's in there. And I think that should go for all the utility companies, water, telecoms, all of them should have to follow the same standard. As far as the comment about one company having an advantage to put lines, I wasn't aware of that, but if that's the case,
that is the case.
But at the same time, the way it's being done now, where this one company can come and dig up the road pretty much at will, it seems, I would hate to think what would happen to us if the other companies had the same ability to do that.
Well, so at one point, there was talk about sharing the cell phone towers, and I think that went through. So each one of the companies now are allowed to share on the cell phone towers. The same thing could be done for the line in the road.
Liberalization should afford that same ability across the board.
Yeah, but it wasn't done. That's a major thing that they never considered. Of course, the whole issue of the spectrum, selling the spectrum, they never got around to that as well. But we're still developing, I guess, and sometimes you have to make baby steps before you could make giant steps. I'll put it to that level at this point because we've been talking about this, my colleagues and I, we've been talking about this from the beginning, from time we were talking about liberalization of the telecommunication industry. But so far, we have what we have because decisions were made, and we have to live with the decision makers' decisions.
Right. But in the meantime, we need some help. We need these roads restored.
Oh, definitely. And we need answers too. We need to know why the roads are in the condition they're in, and we need to know when they're going to be restored. Yeah, well, thanks a lot for your call. I think it sheds a lot of light in the area, and I hope that the persons who are listening who have responsibility for this area will take heed and act accordingly.
All right, thanks for taking the call.
All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's a caller there that's, you know, as passionate about it as myself. That we got to go to the call. Yeah, good evening. You re-speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening, Courtney. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. And yourself?
Okay. I'd like to offer a hypothetical. Suppose the United Kingdom decided to not give us the privilege of protecting our immigration status, and they wanted to open up that status to all of their citizens and all the European Union citizens. Then a lot of this argument we have about Down Island people and this and that would be mute, wouldn't it? They would all be allowed to come in if they are UK citizens. So although independence may not be what we want, we need to look into relationship that will impact us in the future.
I'm glad you're raising that issue, because I wanted to touch on that, but from a different point of view, and it is to do with a learned lady from Anguilla who is right now petitioning the British government for moving the passport production to the UK. And I don't know if you're aware, but it's the same issue that we're going to have here. And she's begging the question whether or not we should be compensated when they make this move, because it's going to be a burden on our citizens to have to get our passports from the UK. Are you aware of what I'm talking about?
No, this is the first I'm hearing of it.
Yeah, there's a movement on foot as we speak, where there will be no longer passports produced here or in the overseas territories. Okay, and
that speaks to my point. We need to look into different type of relationship than our standard one with the United Kingdom. I want to make another quick point in this concerning the cruise ships.
Okay.
What would you think if, as a region, a group, if the Caribbean joined together, bought a few ships, and serviced the Caribbean? This way, it's my understanding that most of the money made on the cruise ship is made on the seaside, not the land side. Under my proposal, my way of thinking, we would be able to have both sides of the coin. We will have the ship, have the money on sea, and also have the land-based spending.
Well, caller, you know, I'm one of those people who believe in the federation, and I will continue to preach federation. If we had ever went down the road of having a federal government, these are some of the things that the federal government would have been able to do by having the various governments contribute to the federal fund, similar to like in the United States, where you have a federal government, and the federal government is able to do things that individual countries or individual islands can't and couldn't do. Take, for example, the airline situation. The federal government would have been able to produce and run an effective a way of travel, whether it was through private enterprise or quasi-government enterprise, whatever. And I feel the same way about transporting goods and services. Food, you can't get food from one part of the Caribbean to another part of the Caribbean. It's almost impossible to travel without spending a whole day to get down to South America. That is not reasonable in 2014, you know. And I think that a federal system would have helped in that regard. But you know what happened, right? Everybody discredited the federal system and break it up before it even got off the ground.
Okay, well, thanks for your opinion, and it was just food for thought.
No, but the idea that you're propagating to me is a very good idea, and it speaks to ownership of the things that affect you in life, and transportation is something that affects us dearly. Okay. Not to mention, Just today, I was at a ceremony with the marine industry. We are creatures of the marine industry because we interact with the marine side of things every day. If you look around us, we have more water than land, and to be ignorant of that fact is not good enough. You know, we need to, as you're saying, we need to look at the whole enterprise of being on the water. And that is one aspect of it that is most profitable. You know, the whole.
I agree with you. Thanks for taking the call.
All right, thank you very much for contributing as well, my brother. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we sometimes we're talking about jobs and we're talking about getting jobs, but here this caller was talking about making jobs, because if you own your own industry, you obviously need people to work for you. We have a couple of texts that came in. Tourist season is coming up. Is the BVI prepared or Ebola? Okay, I'm not sure if the BVI is prepared for Ebola, but I know that I've been listening to the news in the United States, and they're going to start screening people for Ebola at the major airports in the United States. So I'm not. I would have to say no. I would come right out. I would say we are not prepared. Good evening, gentlemen. While the issue is about roads, I would like to say that our main roads here on Anegada are in deplorable condition, which are from Setting Point to the village. And when you drive to avoid these parts of the road, we are being told by the police that we are driving on the wrong side of the road. What they want us to do is to drive through the potholes, especially when there is no oncoming traffic. This needs to be addressed. Carla, I hear you cry, and I sympathize with you. But we have to, we have to ask, beg that we get better conditions territory-wide. And I say territory-wide because I've looked at some of the situation myself, and I would have to conclude that it must be a lack of funds. That is why the situation is the way it is. I must tell you that there's a glimmer of hope, because I noticed that some work is going on right now from Rotown to East End. Some of the areas are being remedied, and that is good. I hope the same thing goes to the West End. I noticed the roads going to the West End and Tatola also have that problem. And here we just got a glimpse of the situation in Anegada, and of course Anegada must be in not so good a condition, because most of the roads are concrete roads. So I hope that the people who are listening to the show, who have the responsibility for this topic, will take it on seriously and not play lip service to it, but actually provide some kind of help to us, the motoring public, the people who use the road, especially the persons who use the road daily as a part of their income. We have two more texts that came in. Sounds like I'm going to be able to get to them real quick. It says, did anyone figure out what the indigenous people of the Virgin Islands were called? No, the person that texted, no, we never got that information out there yet. I'm still hoping that someone would call or text or even write to me and tell me, what these people were called. Good evening. You've reached Speak Your Mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yes.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Could you kindly tell them to put concrete on the road instead of asphalt, because asphalt, when the rain comes getting up.
Okay. Okay, that's That's a suggestion that I guess we would have to take, you know, take it for what you said. There are a number of situations where asphalt looks better. It's what we call a wearing course of asphalt is much more. It's better for the vehicle tires, being a rubber base, you know, being rubber based tires. Aesthetically, it looks nice. The concrete is also good, and it can be used in some areas. However, as the caller rightfully says, sometimes where you have a steep slope, if you put asphalt, it comes up. Whereas if you put concrete, it would less. However, sometimes when you put concrete on a steep slope, it's too smooth, and it causes the vehicles to skid. So there's you know there must be a you know a evaluation of each situation and the appropriate type of material used depending on the problem at hand. So I think that is, you know, one of the ways to deal with that. It also brought me to I'll go to the call. Good evening. You have reached Speaking Mind. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good day. Good night.
Yeah, good night.
Two questions. On the tribunal court for the labor. Because, yeah.
And I hear you now. Speaking to the
No,
microphone.
they were supposed to implement this head above the labor office to oversee them that and so what is status on that?
All I heard you say is the labor office. You need to speak up a little more so I can hear you.
Listen what I'm saying.
Yes.
Some time ago they do over the labor code. Okay?
Yeah, 2010.
Right. And they were supposed to the board to resolve them and resolve issues.
They were supposed to have a tribunal.
Right.
Set up.
So what is status?
As far as I know, some members were named for the tribunal, and I haven't heard anything else since then. But so I know. Sorry.
Up to now it's not functioning. So up to now it's not functioning then.
Not to my knowledge, I haven't heard any functioning of it. No.
Mm.
And caller, that is where if you have a dispute with an employer, that tribunal will be able to listen to both sides of the story, so to speak, and assist both sides in an impartial way. And without that, the way the law is written, I don't think that the Labor Department will be able to take either side. I don't. You understand what I'm saying?
Okay, let me ask the next question now.
Yes.
How much do you think the minimum wage should really be?
Sorry?
How much do you think the minimum wage should be?
Oh.
How much you think it should be?
Okay. I have a formula for working it out. I don't just think off the top of my head. The consumer index has changed in this country, something like almost 2% per year over the last. You know how long since the minimum wage has changed in this country? It's over 10 years. I know I'm gonna check for you, but I think it's more than 10 years. Okay. If you look at 2% per year, that's almost 10 points right there.
Mm.
And I don't think it should be an arbitrary decision, because if you make an arbitrary decision, then you're going to be forced to make another arbitrary decision somewhere along the line. So I would like to believe that some formula should be worked out in dealing with the minimum wage, and it should have some component of that formula that deals with the cost of living and the consumer price index as it is continually changing in the upward direction. As a matter of fact, the Social Security Board uses that to increase the amount of contribution that we make to the Social Security. So it's only fair that that same number is being used to calculate how much the difference in the minimum wage should be. Just by example, there are a number of countries that have recently increased their minimum wage, and they are using the same numbers that I'm referring to increase their minimum wage. It's also unethical and also downright wrong to pay people under what they can survive on in a community. So I think we should bear that in mind when we're talking about a minimum wage, and consider that this is a pretty well-to-do society where the per capita income is much higher or is skewed higher than it should be. In other words, most of us don't make $43,000 a year. Let's face facts. There are people in this country who make less than what our politicians make for allowance per year. Ladies, on that note, I'm going to have to take a break for the sponsors that make this show possible, and I'm going to be right back with you.
Place spaghetti in boiling water, add tomatoes, sweet peppers, and onion, and presto, your spaghetti marinara.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from last-minute dinner dilemmas. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
I'm here to find out about my husband's social security. You hear about that bad accident? Yes. This my husband get mashed up.
He went to Puerto Rico?
Yeah. It was a serious accident, you know. But I don't get some of that security money.
Miss, your husband's contributions are not up to date.
What? What do you mean by that?
Remember, you must secure your tomorrow today. Check on your contribution status right away.
Hi there. Welcome to Botanic Service Station, your #1 Soul gas fill-ups in the British Virgin Islands. Try our delicious hot wings or pizza with your favorite toppings, made fresh every day. Try it. I know you will love it.
Need a cold drink? We have the widest variety, the cheapest and coldest in town.
Just a friendly reminder, we have a wide range of vehicle maintenance products.
Oils, coolant, batteries, air fresheners, and our #1 product, Soul Gas. The best gasoline that will take you further and keep your engine running cleaner. Do you love to cook? We have your LPG right here for your convenience. Open from 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. Chances are you'll be stopping by the Botanic Service Station today. So just grab a cold drink while you're there.
Littering is a criminal offense under the Littering Abatement Act. Our litter wardens and police officers are hunting for litterers. You will be caught when you least expect. Litterers are subject to a $500 fine or 3 months in prison. Stop littering in our country. You are hurting our environment and you are hurting our economy.
Al's Marine Air Conditioning and Refrigeration specializes in servicing and repairing units such as Daikin, Marine Air Tech, Mitsubishi, DGM, York. Any type that you call, we can install. We also work on commercial and residential units in houses, boats, cars, and company buildings. If you even need some cool breeze for your doghouse or house table, we will not hesitate. We are always able. No job is too big or too small for Al's Marine Limited. For our home and restaurant customers, we also service and install all your appliances such as ovens, stoves, washers, dryers, refrigerators, and freezers. You can contact us at 494-4529 or 340-3791 or email us alsmarine@surfbvi.com. Al's Marine is located in Purcell Estate Road, Town, Tortola. Al's Marine Limited, your #1 choice.
just left turn here.
Brilliant. The directions I got to go straight.
Oh, you go and tell me about them stupid directions when the map is right here.
Let me see the map. Let me see the map.
So now you want to see the map?
Give me the map, man.
Alright.
No, we passed here, sorry.
Make a right, go 100 meters, and that's the destination.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from getting lost. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're right back with you after a short break. We were having such a lively discussion there. I think we must have reached out to some of the more vocal people in the community to be able to have the kind of discussion we're having. But that's what this show is all about. That's the beauty of having a show like this. While we were off air, I was thinking about one of the texts that came in. Let me read it for you, and then I'll say what I wanted to say about it. It said, "What do you think has been the BVI government's biggest achievement?" And I think without any doubt, and I would say that the financial services area must when you look at the development of the Virgin Islands over the years, I would conclude and say that having the foresight to move right into the financial services sector area and to develop that area to the point where it accounts for a large percentage of our budget annually must be one of the greatest accomplishments. And while we're on that topic, I would like to put out a recommendation of something that I saw somewhere else that I think would work very good for us here, and that is all the former chief ministers and prime ministers to have a proper photograph and especially the ones that have already passed on, their birth date and the date that they're no longer here with us, properly put up in, say, our airport, or port of entry in the airport, where persons who are coming to our country can realize that these are the people who were in the forefront of this country when this country was in the developmental stages, and those are the people who brought it from a leadership position from where it was to where it is now. And I would like to see us, do something like that would benefit everybody, to sort of answer the question that the text asked me. What has been our most important achievements so far? And I really believe it was that foresight, and it came under the leadership that we had in the 1980s, and of course we know that was between the Honorable Romney and the Honorable Stout, and of course all the people who have maintained that leadership as well, because it needed a lot of tweaking, and it took a lot of people to contribute to bring it to where it is today. I got a couple of other texts that came in. It says, where's Sam? Sam's not here this evening. But I meant the current government. Oh, the person is texting me back and said, I mean the current government. I think the current government still have a ways to go. It's not, I have to go back to school on that one. I had a very long professor who told me it's not good to judge people before they finish. I would not sit here and pretend to know what the present government is going to do for their term. We still have a ways to go, and believe you me, in politics things can change as a matter of less time than you and I would want to think. While driving around Tortola, I obviously see a lot of houses left abandoned because the owner either left the BVI or has died. I think the government should put a legislation in place where they will have the power to take those houses after a period of time, fix them up, and either rent or give them out to low-income persons who cannot afford to buy a home of their own. That's a, you know, that would be a policy that the government would have to look at, but it would be right in line with a housing policy, which we don't have. We need a housing policy. And when I'll just give you a short story. When I was growing up, it was normal for everyone to try to build their own house, and a lot of young men did that. But I have been speaking to persons, and of course I'm also in the profession, and I know that it's very difficult for a young person now to build a house for a reasonable amount of money, let alone get a loan from the bank to build a house. So we need a housing policy, and we need to look at different things in that policy. One of them is affordability. Two would obviously be to some semblance of what the person that text is referring to, and that is taking care of some of the persons who may not be able to afford a house. And these are all issues that can be, you know, there are so many building societies that I know of. Right here in the Caribbean, we have building societies. So we could emulate what's already being done. That's nothing. We don't have to start from scratch. There are lots of places that have building societies, and we can do the same and take care of our citizens properly. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we covered a number of things, and I would like to go back to some of them that I started out with. The Sister Island issues. Of course, we got some response to that. The recycling, waste management, the elections reform, and I started speaking a little bit about this whole passport issue. And I think that our government needs to join with the other governments of the overseas territories and speak to the UK government about this issue and the hardship that is going to bring on us if all the passports in these overseas territories are only going to be produced in the United Kingdom, and discuss, you know, the way forward, because I could understand their concern about security, and I can understand their philosophy of, you know, of moving, you know, the production to the UK. However, we're not isolated. We're not islands on their own. We are a group. I think there are about four overseas territories. You know, in the area right here, we have Montserrat, Turks and Caicos, Cayman Islands, and we should be able to get together and lobby the British government so that we have some regional place where they can, where if not on the way it was before, if the security needs to be improved, all of that. But I don't think that, you know, that we should just sit back and just say, well, you know, all the passports are going to come from the UK. I think we have to do a little better than that. We have to, and if that is the case, then the hardship must be borne not by us, the citizens, because we're in a relationship with the UK government, not a one-way relationship, a two-way relationship. So if it's going to affect us that much, then maybe some compensatory measures should be put in place. You know, we got two texts that came in. Let's see if people are agreeing or disagreeing with me. They say, why is solid waste closed on weekends? I'm not sure why they're closed on weekends, but it might be, and on holidays. That may be a cost-cutting measure. I don't know. What colonial names were you suggesting be replaced on a previous show? Oh, definitely all of them, all the colonial names. I mean, why are we telling our children about pirates and the like, when we know that we have much more upstanding citizens in our country whose names can be propagated. If we don't change the way how history has been told to our children, or to us and our children, then we're not really good stewards for the time that we're being put on this planet to make our contribution. The way the persons who are here, or the persons who are allowed to tell their story, they told their story for a number of years. Some of us know better. We know the truth. We know that their story is not the correct story. So why should we go ahead with that story that we know is not true? You know, and I think it's also messing up our young people when we're telling them one thing, and they are knowledgeable enough to know that we are lying. We are telling them something that's not true, and I think it's time that we start fessing up, and especially when it comes to history. We need to correct our history as much as possible. We don't have anything here in our country that speaks to Mandela. Mandela was someone that I thought did something that's recognized throughout the world, and we don't have a street, a circle, a place, nothing. Martin Luther King, the same thing. We have no, and when it comes to our local heroes, we have local heroes here who have done a tremendous amount as well. Of course, you have to give kudos to those politicians and members of the House who saw it fit to change a few of the things, the schools, the airport, etc. But we still have a lot of work to do. We still have a lot of work to do, ladies and gentlemen, if we're going to really be honest and try to correct some of the wrongs that were done in the country. I raised the question about the original name of the country, and that is something that is a work in itself. We have to find out. We have to dig into the oral history or the written history of the territory and find out what were the name of these islands before Christopher Columbus came around here. Our history could not have started in 1492. Our history, as far as I have been told, is long before that, a long time before that. And if we have such a rich history, we have to be proud of our history, and we have to tell the story ourselves. Don't wait for anybody else to tell the story, especially when we know that when persons come to tell the story, they tell their story. They don't tell our story, they tell their story. So ladies and gentlemen, yes, I think we need to look at all those areas in our territory where we can improve, and go ahead and make the improvements. And I'm sure someone will take notice at some point if we continue to do those things that are right. So I think I answered the text to that point. Yeah, and definitely I would say if we could get a building society, we can have legislation. We can have a number of things that speak to a building society, affordable housing. We could have low income housing if we have to have such a thing as low income housing. We can do a lot of things. We could have a land bank, a whole bunch of other things as well. If we have a building society that is designed to service a particular type of, and it's also a good time to talk about a building society. Just today I was mentioning to someone that we are fortunate of a situation that happened to us where on Tortola and Josh Van Dyke, where the majority of the land was actually purchased by the ex-slaves in the country, whereas on the other islands, especially Virgin Gorda and Anegada, where the land still remains Crown land, and that is such a big difference, and it's something that we need to address. And we need to, to come to terms with, because Crown land is not treated the same as land that's outright owned by an individual. We have a text that came in. Let's see what they're saying. They say the vehicles with bright light, it needs to be looked into, and I would agree with you, and I would mention to you that the present situation where the motor vehicle department or the people down at Parkwood Pond and the police traffic department need to come together, and they need to plan strategy. They need to share information, all of that, because in this day and age, in 2014, I don't accept the situation the way it is, and I see a lot of infractions of the law, and I personally think that these things are happening because of what I'm explaining to you. These two departments need to come together, whether it's through technology or physically come together. I don't know, but they need to come together as far as being able to share information, especially so that they can have information on various vehicles and drivers and able to deal with the law. Good evening, you're speaking, man. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, good evening. I'm fine. And yourself?
I just hear you use a word that caught my attention. Crown land.
Okay, well, expound on it. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to know, mister, if when the government, previously when the government issued lands for farmers and so on, at least probably I think it was, I don't know the terms, but we have huge lots of land in Virgin Gorda that was previously allocated for farmers. Now, some of them died, some of them not farming anymore. And what I want to know is, why are we still telling the residents of Virgin Gorda that there's no crown land in South Valley? When you have a whole copper mine that was once dedicated for farmers, now people building homes there. So are you telling me that only the very few people that are selected, that were previously selected for those properties, have the rights to own 12, 10, 14 X amount of acres of government land? I have a situation that irks me very much. I have seen a man that is not a British Virgin Islander come to Virgin Gorda and decides that he is going to build a shack on government property. And his property right next to the copper mine, where our minister now have a development going on. I find that as a grave insult. And this is because the gentleman feels that all the land in those areas that was subletted before for farming or whatever belongs to people. And I'm saying my government need to be real. You need to stop fooling people and telling them there's no crown land on Virgin Gorda South when you have acres of land that was previously assigned for agriculture, that the owners die, who ain't dying, doing no more agriculture. We need to take this land and sublet it to people to build houses. The young people in this community, some of them are able financially, some of them are willing, but we're telling them they don't have no land. And on the other hand, one man could get 12, 14 acres of land to build shacks and concrete apartments and what have you. We need to stop this thing. We need to be real to our people. If you give a man 10 acres of land before for farming, he ain't farming no more. Take back 8 of it and distribute it to our people, man. We need to stop fooling our people because we want to satisfy a few people who either want to vote for us or think that they vote for us. We need to stop that. This is a new time, man. That's a serious situation there. You don't have no crown land, and you have acres of land up there. We give the church 7 acres of land up there to build a campground. And what they have, an unorganized mess. That's not right. And telling our people we don't have no land. There's land. Let's stop fooling our people and stop using it as a ploy to gain votes or to manipulate people. We need to stop that. People are suffering the whole thing. Go to Coppermine right now, because maybe have a government development up there. And before you reach there, you're finding a shack on top of the hill. And that is a man who's a non-DV lander who decides he can build a house and he can live free. And our people can't get none.
Well, Carla, to put what you're saying in perspective, I have to mention a couple of things. One of them is that the guy Bush in Cayman Islands, he was found not guilty. That's the premier who was accused of spending government money inappropriately, and it draws me to the other issue, which is Missick, which is the premier of Turks and Caicos, and the whole investigation around this guy is based on Crown land, and how Crown land was unevenly distributed.
We have the similar situation here for the Castro. The very same thing. And people need to be held responsible for their activities.
Well, I think all of that would rest with the governor. You know, I think once it's Crown land, and it's being distributed unequally or in a manner that's not as it should be. I think that is a matter for review.
Yeah, this needs
for serious review.
Yeah, this needs to be addressed. I've heard it over and over. There's no more land on Virgin Island, no more Crown land. Why should one man inherit 12 acres, 10 acres, and other people, other youth that come and can't get a house lot to build on?
And Carl, I thought you were going to even reference the other issue, which is the $1.48 an acre.
It's the value, which is nonsense, because they're going to give you that. If they're going to give you that, then you don't have access, you don't have road, you don't have infrastructure, nothing. They're using our representatives, our politicians, using this thing as a vote getter, apply to gain votes or to keep voters. We need to stop this. We need fair distribution.
Well, Carl, I was suggesting that we need a building society. And if we had a building society set up properly, and we had, those type of policies can easily, and we wouldn't be the first country to do this. There are a number of countries that have this already in place.
But how are we going to get that code, man?
Through leadership. A lot of these things.
Our leaders are saying that we can't touch that because that's the politicians ramping gun or whatever. To me, I take that to mean that the politicians using that to gain votes. Then if the politicians are using that to gain votes, then they need to get smart. They need to distribute this land properly and fairly. Not for you to want to build house company, they don't have no land. And we tell them they don't have no more land. And one man sitting on 14 acres.
Well, Carla,
on 10 acres.
Well, Carla, I have always thought that the way how land is distributed in this territory is that if you have the way and the will and the means to get things done, then you wouldn't get any land. That's how I thought it was all along. Because I know, just like you, I know a number of persons who they have the way and the means and the physical, they have the labor in themselves to actually push themselves and get things done, but they can't get any further than that.
And I want us to stop fooling the people that tell them Virgin Island ain't got no more Crown land. We got too much of it, we're reserving it for our rich, wealthy friends, and we're forsaking our children. I want to remind our administrators, stop leaving the children behind. They are our future.
Well, Carla, I just wanted to weigh in on one thing. I was talking about recycling and waste management. I was saying that maybe it's time that we put a levy on the importation of these bottles and cans. And then when you turn them back into the solid waste, you get your money back. Well, you think that would cut down on some of this garbage that we're having? We're seeing too much garbage all over the place.
Listen to me. The whole waste management institution needs to be revamped from leadership down. I ain't going behind no corner or behind no building to say. It needs to be revamped. There is no waste management control on Virgin Islands, period. Virgin Gala is supposed to be the gem of the tourism industry here. And it's sad to see. Because you must take a trip one of these days. Let me give you a tour, a real tour. There's no waste management on Virgin Gala, period. There are remnants of a department, remnants. And we have too much square pegs in wrong hole. You know what's going to happen there? When they square, they can't fit in the hole. That needs to be addressed seriously. When the minister came up and said he renaming the department, I thought he was restructuring the department, but we have the same folly going on. You have tons and tons of derelict vehicles built up on the island.
Okay. Well,
nobody doing nothing about it. We have a pond that is filled to capacity with stone and debris. Nobody doing nothing about it. And then we're saying Virgin Gala have the most cases of chikungunya and the most cases of dengue fever. Why? It must. Because it's Virgin Gala, the city itself is like a garbage dump.
Okay. Well,
waste management need revamping, period. I tell the minister you need to do some work there. The hospital, yes, but waste management is critical. Our people dying in garbage.
Well, I was making reference to the fact that, you know, there's money to be made, but if we had to change our policies. Because if you put a levy on bringing in the bottles and the plastic and that stuff, when you return them to solid waste, you get your money back. But at the same time, it would stop people from throwing it away or throwing away money.
I agree with that too. Because I've been to some Caribbean islands where there are people waiting for you to finish a Guinness or finish a Heineken to take the bottle out of your hand.
Yes.
Here it is different.
Yeah. Here you whisk it through the bush.
And unless you change them kind of things here, like I agree with you, because I always have this problem. We have 4 or 5 guys say they cleaning the road every day, but they're cleaning the sides of the street.
Right.
The people tossing the bottles and cans in the bush, in people's property.
That's true.
You know?
And those same bottles and cans are getting filled with water and they're breeding mosquitoes.
Yes, and breeding mosquitoes.
Yeah,
and they're talking about chikungunya and mosquitoes and mosquitoes. Where are the vector control people on Virgin Gala? If Virgin Gala is deemed to have the most cases, I don't see them. I live here every day. Me like the representatives don't want to go on a different island. I live here every day. And I can't see a brother getting on the TV and talking about vector control. Mister, you have to come in the environment. Not in a meeting in the Catholic Center and talk for 2 hours. You need to work in the environment, work with the people.
Carl, I'm going to ask you one thing before you go there. I want to know if the elevator is still only going to the 1st floor.
The elevator is working at all still.
Well, that's not acceptable.
It ain't working at all.
Yeah.
We need to make an appeal to the Deputy Governor's office, whoever is running it. This is an embarrassment to the island, to the district.
Well, as a temporary measure, maybe they should convert the post office or one of those places on the ground floor to some temporary offices, so the little old lady don't have to go up the stairs. I'm only suggesting.
No, court. We don't have to do that. We have to pay the people then to install the elevator and service it.
Well, that would help. That would definitely help.
That's what we have to do, and then maintain it properly. I'm sorry for the poor people in the district. I'm sorry for them.
Maintain all the buildings. Anyway, Carla, I have to take a commercial break, but if you still feel you can call back. Okay.
Sure. Thanks for the time.
All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the sponsors that make the show possible require me to take a short break. So I'll take a short break and I'll be right back with you.
What kind of party this?
Then they bring the music.
Seriously?
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from party disasters. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Cheers to a month of mouth-watering events. Join us this November for a series of exciting culinary experiences such as the Barefoot Gourmet Soiree, with proceeds donated towards hospitality scholarships for local students. Or experience an evening with our participating hotels, hosting visiting chefs from around the globe. Join our Restaurant Week cook-offs and sample special discounted menu items. Every Friday of the month, our chefs prepare savory local dishes. Head to Virgin Gorda for the first ever On the Rocks bar crawl. This food-filled month climaxes on the Drowned Island at the 2nd Annual Anegada Lobster Festival. Visit www.bvifoodfest.com or call the BVI Tourist Board at 284-494-3134 for more details.
Turbo the refreshing family drink with a revved up fruit flavor.
New flavors now available: mango, pineapple ginger, and soursop. Turbo Plus is distributed in the Virgin Islands by Total General Services.
Hi there! Welcome to Botanic Service Station, your #1 Soul gas fill-ups in the British Virgin Islands. Try our delicious hot wings or pizza with your favorite toppings, made fresh every day. Try it. I know you will love it.
Need a cold drink? We have the widest variety, the cheapest and coldest in town.
Just a friendly reminder, we have a wide range of vehicle maintenance products.
Oils, coolant, batteries, air fresheners, and our #1 product, Soul Gas. The best gasoline that will take you further and keep your engine running cleaner. Do you love to cook? We have your LPG right here for your convenience. Open from 7 a.m. to 11 o'clock p.m. Chances are you'll be stopping by the Botanic Service Station today. So just grab a cold drink while you're there.
Place spaghetti in boiling water, add tomatoes, sweet peppers, and onion, and presto, your spaghetti marinara.
Having Digicel data is like having the fastest man in the world save you from last-minute dinner dilemmas. Start using Digicel data today. Digicel.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm right back with you. The Speaking Mind Show is really pushing the borders tonight. We're all over to Anegada. We just heard from Virgin Gorda, and I'm going to mention a couple of things about Joshua Knight before we leave, but we're here for the entire Virgin Islands, and we're dealing with any of the issues that you throw at me tonight. I'm able to deal with anything you throw. One of the things one of the texts that came in. Let me go to one of the texts that came in. I'm going to read one, and I'm not going to read the other one. It says, "We in this part of the world always seem to be anxious in honoring others from other parts of the world. Case in point, Boggy Peak was renamed in honor of Mandela. Can you point out to all any Caribbean personality who has been honored in any way by a foreign country? Let us continue to recognize our own. By the way, Boggy Peak is in Antigua. The person that takes that, I'm familiar with that whole Boggy Peak issue, and I might go down on the other side away from you and agree with Antigua for naming it after Nelson Mandela, because I also feel that there are some people in this world, and I could name a few of them for you, who I think transcend the country where they're from. The things that they've done in life have elevated us to such a level that you kind of forget where they were actually born, because their contribution to the world stage, so to speak, is so great. Nelson Mandela was one of those people. Malcolm X was one of those people. Mahatma Gandhi was one of those people. John F. Kennedy was one of those people. Einstein was one of those people. I mean, I could continue naming for you a lot of people who, in my opinion, their contribution far outweighs where they were from. In other words, the things that they did were phenomenal on a world level. So, you know, I agree that you should recognize your own people, but there are times when you also have to recognize the greatness in people, regardless of where they're from. One monument that I went to in Germany is a monument to Martin Luther King. And I'll try to describe it to you. You had to walk for more than something like 2 hours. You had to walk to get to this point. And when you got to that point, it just had a plaque, Martin Luther King plaque. And that just goes to show you the depth that someone can go to in recognizing the contribution that someone made. And I think, you know, there's a policy in some of the states in the United States to name parts of a state with the name of another state. So you would see a part of New York named California, and in California you see a part of California named New York. I think we in the Caribbean probably could jump up to that level as well, where there might be a part of Antigua named, you know, Virgin Gorda, I'm just saying, and St. Thomas, and et cetera, et cetera. We have to change our policies or the ways we have done things in the past, and look at more progressive and more, you know, better ways of recognizing how much we're similar, and also how much we are different. Mavis Garvey Park in Manhattan. There you go. Somebody just helped me out there. That was so good. And by the way, I was telling some of my colleagues today, I was so happy to see the Malcolm X College in Chicago, because from what I was able to read about Malcolm X before, there was some recognition of some of the stuff that he did, but most of it was usually negative. And to see that there are people in this world who recognize the positive things that he did, I was happily surprised to discover that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're here well into the show, and we're well into talking about a number of issues: elections, reform. We touch a bit on this whole passport issue. That's going to affect us, and we need to know more about it. We need to have some public opinion about it. We need our government to come forward and say what's going to happen. Not when it happens. We want to know now, since we're hearing in the news that it is going to happen. We need to know how we're going to be affected by it. Is it going to cost more? Is the process going to be longer? Is there going to be a burden on our citizens? Come on, let us know where we're going with this whole issue. And if need be, explain to us why this is happening to us. We're in an agreement, a partnership, so to speak. What they say in the white paper with the UK, they say that we're in a partnership. So if we're in a partnership, we need to know what the one partner is doing that's good for the other partner. And if we're being, if some of us being unnecessarily hampered by the decisions that are being made, we need to know, and we need to know in a timely manner. we're going to touch a little bit on the job situation. I put that down as an ongoing topic because it is a very serious concern where I've seen in the news that persons are speaking about persons returning here with the higher level degrees and not able to find jobs. And a thought came to mind, and I thought I'd put it out on the show. And the thought goes like this: in order for the government to probably deal with a situation that is probably going to escalate, is to find a way to value or evaluate whether or not a person is actively looking for a job or not. Because I could say I'm looking for a job, and my idea of looking for a job is to put on a suit and a tie and walk down Main Street once a week and knock on every door, and that might be my idea of looking for a job. Now, if there's some criteria put in place that you must have a resume, you must go on a job interview, you must do at least 4 of them a month, etc. And then if you can't find a job, then you're given a stipend or some type of compensation. That might augment. Listen to me, good ladies and gentlemen. That might augment some of us in the community who are actively, seriously looking for jobs, filling out that resume every week, going on the job interviews, and they're coming up empty. They're not getting any work. And we have hundreds of persons here who are expatriate and have a secure job. So I'm begging the question: if we're going to compensate persons who should have a job and don't have a job and are rightfully seeking to have a job, and they're doing everything within their power to try to get this job, and they can prove it, they have the documentation where they can prove it, I think that would be the way to evaluate whether or not such a person would be eligible for any type of compensation. That's my thought on the job market. I don't see any way out from this situation if we're going to continue the way we're going. We used to speak about zero unemployment. That is not the case now, ladies and gentlemen. So since we have changed, some people say change is good. Some people say change is inevitable. I said change, you have to deal with change. If you have change, you have to adjust to the changes that you either find yourself having to deal with or that were brought on you. However, most changes don't go away. They stay with you, so you have to deal with them. And one of the ways of dealing with a jobless situation is to put policies in place to deal with it. And I think one of those ways would be to have, the persons who are actually seeking jobs to make proper records of what they're doing, so that when they put the case forward, it would be, a good case that could be recognized. See if we have a text that came in there. It says, it said Buggy was not named after Mandela. It was named after President Obama. The name is now Mount Obama. Thanks for that correction. Yeah, good evening. You've re-speak your mind. Go right ahead, please.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Yeah, good night. How are you?
Yeah, good night. I'm fine. How are you doing?
Yeah, a couple of brief comments here before you close this show.
Okay.
Still here. Okay. First and foremost, Virgin-Gorda, South Valley Virgin-Gorda, Spanish Town Virgin-Gorda was the original capital of the BVI, right?
Mm-hmm.
It still remains #1 tourist attraction in the BVI. What I can't understand, why our leaders, why our politicians, so to speak, would allow people who we deem to be investors, people who care so much about the affair that they want to invest, why they would allow a man who has serious major businesses in the BVI cut the top of a mountain and fill up the pond at Spanish Town next to Fisher's Cove Hotel that's been there forever. Why would we allow one individual to do that? And this individual has a multiple business in the British Virgin. I mean, he has no respect for the land. He has no respect, no love for the people. And our leaders are going to bed with these people. Instead of playing with them, we need to ask them now to turn around and help clean up this mess. It is easy for the minister, because South Valley is a natural disaster in itself. One, the derelict vehicles. Two, a garage and a junction that is public viewing. Three, a pond that is filled to capacity and doesn't have any view, any beauty at all. These things need to, if you love people, if you have any intention for the district, don't just come over here and go to a restaurant and pass these things and see them. We need to take action. This very same man that built a house for X amount of $1 million, he have the capability of now cleaning up his mess. Love us enough to clean up your mess. Move these stones from there. Come on, it's deplorable, and this is that you're saying, well, two people put them there, you have a dispute. Mr. Minister, you need to declare the area a national disaster and do what you have to do. If you want to engage the two people that put them there, to move them, then do that. But we South Valley, Spanish don't need to clean up. There are too much businesses in there, local and our friends that come from abroad. So why are we keeping it like a dump?
Sounds like a deplorable situation.
It's deplorable because I'm just driving along the road to the Batswell. It's about a 10-hour visitors travel. You can't help but noticing the mess that is supposed to be a pond, a beautiful pond with habitats, live habitats and what have you. This needs to be addressed. And the minister is supposed to know this because he frequents Virgin River.
Well, let's hope that someone.
Another point that I have, you cut me off yet when I finish with that. Another point that I have is that these ministers and ministers drive the road straight to the bats and then go over there to park up in a private parking lot where our safaris, our bus when they're carrying 1,500, 2,000 tourists over there, have to scramble on the small streets and utilize a private parking lot. When we have acres of land, government land at the bats, right next to the facility, all it takes is to clean it out and organize it. These things, don't pretend that they're representing us now. We need to really get representation here. Tourist season coming up again. You have one company here with 12, 14 safaris, the next one with 10, 15. And where do they have to park? Line the streets. We are waiting for a disaster to happen over there one day. It only takes for 2 tourists to get run over, even one. And we have a disaster. Mr. Minister, again, in all your wisdom, you know this needs to be addressed. You got now to build a facility at Copper Mine, which is a wreck that is going down. And you need a parking lot at the backs. It doesn't cost half as much, Mr. Minister. Let's get it together, man. Tourist season coming up. And I think our taxi representatives, for their own personal benefits and for the upliftment of the community, they need to address these things. They need to address these things. We're getting a kind of hypocritical representation here. We're being cast on the side. And this is not due to the government that is corrupt. This is because of the activities of previous governments. But we need to correct these things now. Instead of jumping up in the house and going on, we need to address these small issues. Represent the people, please. Thank you for this.
Well, Carla, you and I out of time together now. So
yes, thank you.
But thanks for your contribution. You know, we have to continue to enlighten the people about what's happening.
I will continue to do that until my eyes close.
Okay. Thanks very much.
Thank you too.
All right. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're just about at the end of the show, so I take into consideration what the caller gave. It's a view of things that, as he said, and I agree, should have been corrected time and time again. We need, that issue about the bats, I remember that being an issue more than 20 years ago. So the packing situation and the change room and toilets and all that stuff. We're aware of what we need to do to build a tourism structure if you're going to have. So all in all, we're going to have to address some of these issues again. But all in all, we touched on some of the sister island issues. We talked about recycling and waste management, election reform, talked about the passport issue. We were able to talk about the jobs. And of course, we had a number of texts and a number of calls that made the show possible tonight. I even have a pressing text that says, Courtney, is there any committee in Labor Department to address late payment of salary? Please let me know. Why this I swear to death for the month. That is something we'll have to definitely touch on again. The text that came in there. We're out of time. Basically, we had I had a good show. Lots of calls, a lot of texts, and of course that is what this show is all about. All people, dialoguing on the Speaking Mind show and expressing themselves within the confines of the area that we are allowed to do that. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I usually say, God bless these Virgin Islands and the people that live in them, and we'll see you again next week.